The passengers turned to stare as the flight attendant's voice echoed through the cabin. What she said next would leave Kai Musk humiliated, but she had no idea who she was mocking. The airplane cabin was bustling as passengers boarded a cross-country flight from New York to Los Angeles. Among them was Kai Musk, dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, trying to blend in with the crowd. Kai, the son of the world-renowned billionaire Elon Musk, preferred traveling incognito, avoiding the privileges his last name could easily bring. He believed in staying grounded, even if the world around him often expected otherwise. Kai settled into his assigned seat in economy class, quietly putting his bag in the overhead compartment. He was used to the whispers and glances when people recognized him, but this time, he hoped for a peaceful, unnoticed journey. However, peace was not in the cards. A flight attendant with a sharp tone and an air of superiority walked past. Spotting Kai in his unassuming attire, she paused and raised her voice for the entire cabin to hear. "Excuse me," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Is this your seat? We don't allow oversized baggage here in economy. You'll have to check it, or maybe this isn't the right class for you." Passengers turned to look, some smirking, others whispering among themselves. Kai's face turned red as he realized she was addressing him, her words clearly meant to belittle. I think it fits," Kai replied calmly, gesturing to his bag, which was well within the size limit. The flight attendant scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Well, if you insist. But next time, maybe consider flying first class, if you can afford it." Her words stung, and laughter rippled through a few passengers nearby. Kai sat down quietly, trying to ignore the humiliation, but deep down something inside him began to stir. What the flight attendant didn't realize was that this wasn't just any passenger, and her words would come back to haunt her in the most unexpected way. Kai adjusted his seatbelt, staring out the window as the plane began to taxi down the runway. The flight attendant's words replayed in his mind, each syllable feeling heavier with embarrassment. He wanted to speak up, to correct her assumptions, but he knew causing a scene would only escalate things. The passengers around him murmured, exchanging knowing glances. A woman sitting nearby leaned over and whispered, "Don't let her get to you. She's always like that." Kai gave her a faint smile, appreciating the kindness, but the damage had already been done. He looked down at his hands, fists clenched tightly, and took a deep breath. His father's words echoed in his mind. "Never let pride dictate your actions, son. But don't let disrespect go unanswered either." The flight was long, and every interaction between the flight attendant and other passengers seemed to underline her arrogance. She moved down the aisle with an air of disdain, treating people in economy as though they were beneath her. Kai's frustration grew with every passing moment. As the plane reached cruising altitude, the attendant walked by again. This time she glanced at Kai's lap and smirked. "Do you need help understanding how to use your seatbelt, sir?" Laughter erupted from a few rows back. Kai could feel the heat rising to his cheeks, but he kept his composure. Instead of responding, he picked up his phone and sent a quick message. What no one knew was that Kai's message was about to change the course of the flight and the attendant's entire day. "What do you think Kai is planning? Trust me, you won't want to miss this. If you're curious to see what happens next, hit that like button and subscribe to follow this incredible journey." Kai returned to his seat, staring blankly out the tiny airplane window. The humiliation burned inside him like a fire he couldn't put out. Passengers around him whispered, some in hushed laughter, others in silent sympathy, but none dared to intervene. Kai clenched his fists under the tray table, his mind racing. "Why does being in economy make me any less?" he thought. But then, a flash of inspiration came to him, something his father always told him. Respect is earned, not given. A flight attendant approached him moments later, not the one who mocked him, but an older, kinder-looking woman. She handed him a juice box and whispered, "Keep your head up. Some people don't know the worth of others." Her words, though simple, felt like a balm to Kai's bruised pride. But across the aisle, the mocking flight attendant continued her antics, now targeting an elderly couple struggling to fit their carry-ons. "It's not rocket science, people," she sneered loudly, her voice echoing through the cabin. Passengers began exchanging uneasy glances, but no one spoke up. Kai watched this unfold, his emotions shifting from hurt to resolve. He couldn't let this behavior slide, not for himself, not for anyone else being mistreated. Pulling out his phone, he typed a quick message to his father. "Dad, I need you to trust me on this. Something needs to be done." Minutes later, Elon Musk's reply pinged back. Simple, direct, and just like him. "Always stand up for what's right. I'll support you." Kai's determination solidified. He wasn't just going to let the flight attendant's attitude slide into the past like another forgotten bad experience. He had an idea, a big one. It wouldn't just make a statement. It would ensure no one else on this flight ever had to endure the humiliation he did. As the plane hit a pocket of turbulence, Kai's mind was calm, calculating. A plan was forming, and he was ready to act. The only thing left was timing, and timing, he realized, would make all the difference. What could Kai Musk possibly do from economy class? And how would Elon's influence play into this? Kai's heart raced as the plane steadied from the turbulence. Passengers around him were settling into the monotony of the flight. But Kai couldn't shake the growing determination within him. His father's text echoed in his mind. "Always stand up for what's right." It wasn't just a reminder, it was a call to action. He glanced at the mocking flight attendant, now loudly laughing with a colleague near the galley. Her condescending attitude hadn't waned, and Kai could see the discomfort of passengers in her presence. His earlier feelings of helplessness were now replaced with a surge of resolve. With a quick breath, he tapped into the airplane's Wi-Fi and opened his contacts. Typing furiously, he reached out to his father's assistant, explaining the situation in detail. Then he added something more, a bold request. Would his father agree? Would this even work? As he hit send, the cabin's intercom buzzed. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be serving refreshments shortly. Please remain seated and enjoy the flight." Kai chuckled to himself. Enjoy the flight? Not likely for the people enduring this woman's taunts. Moments later, his phone buzzed with a reply from Elon's assistant. "Consider it done. Mr. Musk is already on it." Kai smirked, imagining the ripple effect this would cause. His father's power wasn't just in his wealth. It was in his ability to act decisively and to teach valuable lessons along the way. The flight attendant sauntered past him, her smug demeanor unwavering. She tossed a napkin onto his tray without a word, her disdain still palpable. Kai caught her gaze briefly, and for the first time he didn't feel small. He felt ready. Minutes passed, and a low hum of chatter began circulating among the passengers. Kai noticed their curious glances and subtle gestures. Something was happening, though he couldn't yet tell what. And then, out of nowhere, the pilot's voice came over the intercom, calm, but with a hint of confusion. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unique update for this flight. Please stay seated as we manage an unexpected development." Kai leaned back in his seat, suppressing a knowing grin. The pieces were falling into place, but the real moment of reckoning was still to come. Would his plan truly make the impact he hoped for? Or had he just gambled on something far too ambitious? One thing was certain. The flight attendant wasn't ready for what was coming next. The atmosphere in the cabin shifted as the pilot's announcement hung in the air. Passengers exchanged puzzled glances, some whispering in hushed tones. The flight attendant, oblivious to the unfolding drama, continued her routine with an air of superiority. She strutted down the aisle, her sharp gaze daring anyone to question her authority. Kai sat quietly, his heart pounding as he watched everything unfold. He knew his father's intervention was never subtle. It was always bold, calculated, and impossible to ignore. The silence of anticipation gripped the cabin as the plane steadied mid-flight. Then, a commotion at the front of the aircraft drew everyone's attention. A well-dressed man in a blazer entered from the cockpit area, carrying a tablet. His confident stride and professional demeanor commanded immediate respect. He glanced around the cabin before locking eyes on the flight attendant. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice calm but firm. "Are you the lead flight attendant on this flight?" She straightened her posture, visibly caught off guard by his authoritative tone. "Yes, I am. May I ask who you are?" "I'm a representative from the airline's executive team," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "We've received a report about your behavior toward passengers. We take such matters very seriously." Her face flushed red, the smugness draining from her expression. A report? From who?" "This is absurd," she stammered, her voice shaking. The man didn't flinch. "I'm not at liberty to disclose that. However, we have protocols in place to address such complaints immediately. I'll need you to step aside while we evaluate the situation further." Passengers began murmuring, their curiosity piqued by the sudden turn of events. Some shot knowing glances at Kai, who remained seated, his face calm but his mind racing. This wasn't the climax. It was just the beginning. The flight attendant's voice rose defensively. "I've been nothing but professional. This is completely unnecessary." Unfazed, the representative raised his tablet, showing her a list of actions being taken. "The passenger you dismissed so callously is no ordinary traveler. This flight is now operating under the direct oversight of Elon Musk's team." A collective gasp rippled through the cabin. Kai glanced out the window, suppressing a smile. The stage was set for his father's next move, a move that would not only put the flight attendant in her place but also transform the flight into an unforgettable experience for everyone on board. Before the flight attendant could respond, the representative leaned closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "You might want to start considering your next steps very carefully. What's about to happen will change the tone of this flight entirely." Passengers leaned forward in their seats, anticipation building as they waited for the next surprise. Kai glanced around, catching the wide-eyed looks of those seated nearby. The tension in the air was electric, and he knew his father wasn't done yet. What would Elon Musk do next? And how would the flight attendant react when her entire world shifted in an instant? The cabin was silent, the kind of silence that amplifies every little sound. Passengers held their breath, unsure of what to expect. The flight attendant, now visibly flustered, stood frozen in place. Her earlier confidence had crumbled, replaced by uncertainty and unease. Just then, a voice came over the intercom. It wasn't the pilot, but a calm, confident voice that everyone instantly recognized. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Elon Musk speaking. I want to personally thank you all for your patience as we address a matter on this flight. Please sit back and enjoy what's about to come next." The reaction was instantaneous. Gasps, murmurs, and excited whispers filled the cabin. People craned their necks trying to spot the source of the voice. It didn't seem possible. Elon Musk himself addressing them directly. The flight attendant's face turned pale, her lips trembling as the weight of the situation dawned on her. She glanced nervously at the representative, who gave her a knowing look. Suddenly, a team of crew members appeared, wheeling carts loaded with high-end food, beverages, and what looked like gift bags. They began distributing them to every passenger, starting from the back of the plane. Champagne bottles popped, and the air filled with the aroma of gourmet meals. Passengers erupted in cheers and applause. "This is amazing," one man exclaimed, raising his glass of champagne. "I've never seen anything like this." Kai smiled faintly, watching the joy spread through the cabin. But he knew this was only the beginning. His father's gestures were never merely generous, they carried a deeper message. As the special service continued, Elon's voice returned over the intercom. "I believe every passenger deserves respect and dignity, no matter where they sit or who they are. Let this flight be a reminder of that." The flight attendant looked like she wanted to disappear. Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape. But there was none. She was trapped in the consequences of her own actions, and everyone could see it. As the festivities continued, the representative approached Kai's seat and leaned down to speak to him softly. "Your father has one final surprise for this flight. Are you ready?" Kai nodded, his excitement tempered by the knowledge of what his father was capable of. The passengers had no idea what was coming next, but Kai knew it would leave an indelible mark on everyone involved, especially the flight attendant who had underestimated him. The question lingered in the air. What could Elon Musk possibly do next that would top this? The buzz in the cabin reached a fever pitch. Passengers, already delighted by the unexpected luxury, were now abuzz with speculation. What else could possibly happen? Some turned to Kai, now the center of attention, hoping for answers, but he just smiled politely, keeping his father's plans to himself. Suddenly, the plane began to descend, not in an alarming way, but with purpose. The intercom came alive again with Elon Musk's voice, calm and deliberate. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've arranged for a brief landing at a nearby airport to enhance your travel experience. I assure you, this will be worth the slight detour." The murmur of confusion rippled through the cabin, but it was quickly overshadowed by curiosity. Passengers exchanged glances, wondering what Elon Musk could possibly have planned. The flight attendant, now visibly shaken, avoided eye contact with everyone, her earlier smugness replaced with an unmistakable air of regret. As the plane touched down at a small, private airport, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Outside the windows, passengers could see a fleet of luxury buses waiting on the tarmac, their sleek designs gleaming under the sunlight. "Please follow the crew's instructions as we disembark for a short break," Elon's voice instructed. "Your journey will continue shortly, and I promise it will be unforgettable." Kai was the first to step off the plane, flanked by the representative and a few of the crew. The passengers followed, stepping onto the tarmac with a mix of awe and excitement. The air was crisp, the sun warm, and the scene before them surreal. Each bus was labeled with a destination: exclusive spas, luxury shopping districts, and renowned restaurants in the area. Elon Musk had not just arranged for a stopover, he had planned an entire experience. "This is insane," one passenger exclaimed as they were directed toward their bus. "I've flown a lot, but nothing like this has ever happened before." Meanwhile, the flight attendant lingered near the plane, unsure whether she should join the others or stay out of sight. Kai noticed her hesitation and approached, his expression calm but firm. "You still have a chance to make this right," he said quietly, his words carrying more weight than any reprimand. The attendant looked at him, her eyes wide with a mix of guilt and gratitude. Without a word, she nodded and joined the group heading toward one of the buses. As the buses began to depart, Kai stepped onto his assigned bus, settling into a plush seat. The representative leaned over to him with a knowing smile. "This is only part of the plan. Your father always likes to save the best for last." Kai nodded, gazing out the window as the world sped by. The passengers, the flight attendant, and even the crew had no idea what awaited them. Elon Musk was far from done, and everyone on board was about to witness something they would never forget. The buses rolled toward their respective destinations, and with them, the tension built once more. What was Elon Musk's ultimate plan? And how would it change the lives of everyone involved? As the buses reached their destinations, the passengers were greeted with a level of luxury and hospitality they had only dreamed of. Spas offered treatments tailored to each individual, high-end boutiques presented personalized shopping experiences, and restaurants served multi-course meals curated by world-renowned chefs. It was a surreal adventure, and everyone felt as if they had stepped into a different world. The passengers marveled at the thoughtfulness behind the arrangements. Some expressed disbelief at how someone could orchestrate such an extravagant gesture, while others found themselves reflecting on their earlier judgments of Kai Musk. Meanwhile, the flight attendant sat quietly at the spa, her mind racing. She replayed her actions on the plane and the subsequent events over and over again. Shame gnawed at her as she realized the depth of her mistake, not just in underestimating Kai, but in treating anyone with disdain. Suddenly, an attendant approached her with a message. "Mr. Musk has requested your presence back at the airport," they said kindly but firmly. The attendant's heart raced. She wasn't sure if she was being summoned for a reprimand or something worse, but deep down, she knew she had to face whatever awaited her. She nodded and followed the instructions, climbing back onto one of the buses heading to the airport. Back at the private terminal, Kai stood beside his father, watching as the passengers began to return. Elon Musk was calm but focused, speaking quietly to his team while the flight attendant stepped off the bus. Her steps were hesitant, her head lowered as she approached Kai. "I wanted to apologize," she said softly, her voice trembling, "for how I treated you earlier. It was wrong and I should have known better." Kai looked at her, his gaze steady but not unkind. "It's not me you need to apologize to," he said. "You owe it to yourself to be better." Before she could respond, Elon Musk turned his attention to the gathered passengers. With his signature charismatic smile, he addressed them directly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this detour," he began. "But there's one final surprise before we return to the skies." The murmurs of excitement began anew as Elon gestured toward the terminal. The doors slid open to reveal a transformed plane, no longer just a standard first-class cabin. The interior had been entirely redone to match the luxury experienced on the ground. Plush seating, personalized service stations, and even a lounge area awaited them. The passengers were stunned. One of them spoke aloud, summing up what everyone was feeling. "This isn't just a flight anymore. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience." The flight attendant, still lingering nearby, felt a pang of regret. She could only hope that this experience would teach her a lesson she'd never forget. She silently vowed to never judge someone by appearances again, knowing she had narrowly escaped missing the most incredible opportunity of her career. As the passengers reboarded, the atmosphere was one of gratitude and joy. Elon Musk's gestures had not only transformed the journey, but also left a lasting impression on everyone involved. And as the plane ascended into the sky once more, everyone knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. But the surprises weren't over yet. Elon Musk's next announcement would leave everyone speechless, cementing the memory of this journey forever. As the plane reached cruising altitude, Elon Musk stood at the front of the transformed cabin, holding a microphone. His calm yet magnetic presence immediately drew everyone's attention. The murmurs quieted as he began to speak. "Thank you all for your patience and understanding during this unexpected turn of events," Elon said with a slight smile. "But there's one more thing I'd like to share with you before this flight concludes." The cabin fell silent. Every passenger leaned in, captivated by the mystery of his words. Even the flight attendants, including the one who had earlier mocked Kai, watched with anticipation. Elon's gaze swept the room as he continued. This flight was more than just a journey from one destination to another. It was a reminder of how quickly perceptions can change, how kindness and understanding can transform even the most ordinary situations into something extraordinary. He paused, letting his words settle in. Then, with a gesture to one of his assistants, he revealed a screen that descended from the cabin ceiling. It displayed a simple yet profound message. "Every passenger on this flight is now part of a new program, Life Elevated. Your experiences today were just the beginning." Gasps and whispers erupted throughout the cabin. Elon explained further. "This program is about providing opportunities for personal and professional growth. You'll receive mentorship, access to resources, and connections to help you achieve your dreams. Whether it's launching a business, supporting a cause, or pursuing a personal passion, you'll have the backing to make it happen." The room buzzed with astonishment. One passenger raised their hand. "Why us?" they asked, their voice trembling with emotion. Elon smiled warmly. "Because each of you represents a story, a dream, a potential waiting to be unlocked. And sometimes all it takes is one moment, one chance to change everything." Even the flight attendant, standing in the back, felt the weight of his words. She realized how small-minded her earlier behavior had been. how she had almost missed the opportunity to witness and be part of something life-changing. Tears welled up in her eyes as she silently resolved to become a better version of herself. As the passengers digested this unexpected announcement, Elon added a final note. Kai played a big role in making today happen. His resilience and compassion inspired me to make this flight more than just a journey. All eyes turned to Kai, who shifted in his seat, slightly embarrassed but also beaming with pride. The passengers erupted into applause, their cheers a mix of gratitude and admiration. As the plane began its descent, Elon left them with a parting thought. The greatest journeys are the ones that remind us of who we are and what we can achieve. Let this flight be the beginning of yours. The passengers disembarked with a renewed sense of purpose, their spirits lifted by the extraordinary experience. The flight attendant, now deeply humbled, approached Kai one last time. "Thank you," she said earnestly, "for teaching me a lesson I'll never forget." Kai simply nodded, his smile kind and forgiving. We all have the power to grow. As the plane's engines cooled and the passengers departed, their lives were forever changed. Elon Musk's vision, Kai's courage, and the events of that flight would remain etched in their memories as a testament to the power of kindness, redemption, and the belief that anything is possible when given the chance. And for the viewers watching this story unfold, they were reminded of the same powerful truth. The smallest actions can create the biggest ripples.